hopefully this is gonna work. Hi, this is Rachelle with Scrapcraftastic, and I'm going to be making some translucent dividers for my personal rings planner that I have been using kind of like resource or collections and just for fun. So I had some stray sheets of vellum on my desk, and I went ahead and laminated and cut them down. So yeah, one of them had a little tear in it. They weren't in the best condition, so yeah, it had a little tear in it, but I used it anyway. I already have 4. I'm gonna make 2 more, and then I have this insert that is personal size, and I'm gonna help use that to make myself a guide. So let's go ahead and laminate this piece of vellum, and you could probably do this with tracing paper too. But I'm just gonna laminate the vellum with 5mm laminate. And then I'm just going to trim it down. Let's see, what size did I trim this to? While that is going, I know it's 6 3/4 in height. I went just a little bit higher, taller. And then this is 4 1/8. Okay. Because I got to leave extra room to make the tabs. So 4 1/8. Okay. So that bent a little bit, but we're not going to worry about that. Done with the laminator. I'm going to trim off the excess on one end. So I only used 1 sheet. If I were using 2, then I would want to break that air bubble because it would open unless I wanted to make myself a pocket. And we may get into that another time, but not today. So for the height, I need 6 3/4 with just a little bit extra. So let's see. So 6 3/4 in height. Probably shouldn't be using my good paper trimmer for this. Then I'm just going to trim off the excess here. And start with this side. So I need 4 1/8 inch. Trim that down. Then do it again. 4 1/8. Alright, so I'm going to use this extra piece to make a dashboard for my pocket rings. Pocket rings is 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. So 3 1/4. Let's see, could I get more than one out of this? No. I can only get one. Okay. Trim off the excess on this end. And let's make this 3 3/4 or 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. So that just leaves this square that's not used, and I don't have the other one in here with me. So what I will do so that I don't misplace this, I'm going to stick this in the front pocket of my personal, so when I get to my pocket I can add that. So since I'm doing 6 instead of 5, it will make life easier. So I need to fold this in thirds as evenly as possible. Might be a little off. So that gives me 3 sections there. Now I could have did the W thing too, or the zigzag fold, but anyway, so now I'm going to fold, put it back together, and then fold that in half, and that should give me 6 sections on this page. Now each one of these sections would be a tab width, and I'm not sure that I want that. I think I might want 3 3 maybe, because that's really short for a tab, and by the time it's rounded it would be even shorter. The 3 is a little long, but let's see how it looks. Now this part is totally up to you, but I think for me, I'm going to do 2 sets of 3. So I'm going to use this paper, line it up on one edge of my divider, and hopefully one of these pins will write on this. So I'm going to line that up and use my folds as a guide to mark on my piece. Now you can do this by hand or with a paper trimmer or with a blade and a ruler. I'm sitting here deciding, how do I want to do this? I don't think I want to do it with a paper trimmer because I always overcut with the paper trimmer. So I'm going to cut the middle tab first. So what I'm going to do is take my scissors and go from the edge to the dot and stop, and try to keep that as straight as possible. Boom. Do the same thing here, edge to the dot. You might want to go a little shorter because it looks like it kind of puckers once you cut it. So I got 2 slits in. I'm going to take off this end with the cut on it. So I'm lining that up, and I'm going to take my ruler. Hopefully this is going to work. And my blade, starting at where I cut and come down. Now, if you need to do this with scissors, you can. I would suggest drawing your line and then doing it that way. You could do it with a paper trimmer, but if you do it with a paper trimmer, I know with me, I will overshoot where I need to cut at. So see, yeah, I even overshot with it with the blade, but it's not too bad. How did I even do that? Okay, so let's do the other side. I'm using my mat to help me line things up. I'm using where I already cut, line the ruler up with that, and with where I need to cut. Let's try not to go over this time. Still caught in the corner. Let's take my scissors and get rid of that. Okay. So that's a divider. It's not the most beautiful of dividers, but it is one. So now I can take this and use it as a guide to cut the rest. So I just have to make sure that I cut the right parts off. And let's see, will my corner rounder work on this? I don't know that it's gonna fit in there. Oh yeah, it will. Let's try the 1/4 inch. So I'm gonna use my corner rounder to round that off. It's not too horrible. I think if I run it back through the laminator, it will be a little bit better. And I think if I take a little alcohol, I can get off where that marker is. Yep. Okay. So divider 1 done. Let's do 2. And I'm just going to mark those same areas. And this time I'm going to keep one of the ends intact. So actually I only need to mark it on one side. So boom, I'm going to mark it right there. And then let's see, I'm going to give myself a dot to help me line my ruler up. So there. Take my scissors, cut straight to the dot. Then use that as a guide, line up my dots. Let's see, let's put it on the mat straight. Line up the dots. Even though that one's not quite right, I know that this is straight. Now this is a way you can do this if you don't have a Cricut or silhouette to make your dividers. Let's see, if I turn it the other way, am I going to get a better cut? Yes. And so just round those corners. So we got 2 dividers, and maybe they are a little long, but I would rather err on the side of having it too long versus having it too short. Now with this, I can do the same direction and just flip it one end to the other. Let's see if I can do something with a pencil. So I'm just going to make the same. Let's see. Oop. Is the pencil going to mark it? I guess not that great. No. You could probably use a jelly roll or some kind of gel ink, but I'm going to stick with what's working for me. I bet you could probably use a Papermate flare for this. So I'm just marking where I need to cut. And again, I can use the alcohol to get my marks off. So I'll do that last. Let's cut in to where I need to cut, and let's try it this way instead of using the tip of the scissor and see if we can eliminate that little white divot that happens. Yeah, I think that helps. Instead of snapping, it's snapping at the end of the scissors. Just use the inside of the scissor and you don't get that little white mark. So let's see, let's line this up. And when you are using a blade and a ruler, and make sure you're using something with a metal edge, metal ruler, always try to put the ruler on the side of the whatever you're cutting that you want to protect. So say I went haywire with the blade, hopefully not cutting my fingers, I would maybe slip and cut this side. That's fine because that's the side that we're cutting off. So you wouldn't slip and cut on this side because your ruler is there protecting the edge. Hopefully that makes sense. So there's another one. Let's round the corners. Okay, so we got a full set of dividers. This looks a little not straight, so I'm just going to trim up what I can. I don't know why that happened. Then I'm going to take the alcohol and clean up the dots. So this one is the only one that I made a mistake on because I cut it too far down. But I'm going to run these back through the laminator and try to make sure that everything is sealed and hopefully alleviate some of those divots that happened when I used the end of the scissors. I'm going to clean up anywhere where the corner rounding isn't quite right. Let's see. I don't know if you can see when I'm talking about the little divots, and I don't know if that's the right term to use, but see there, that little white dot. I mean, this is a DIY handmade project, so yeah. And maybe I should go ahead and round these corners as well. I wish I had a smaller rounder. Let's do that before I run it through. That way I can make sure that those are nice and sealed too. And I may need to run this one back through. I don't know that I need to round all 4 corners, but it's done now. So before I do the other 3, I may not do the other 3 on camera. This will take a while. I am going to go ahead and punch these and put them in. So I still have these 3 to go. Let's turn that off for now. Come back and do the others later. And let's do the holes. And I'm going to use my template for this. And you know what? I'm going to clip these together with a binder clip. Then I'm going to use my template. I probably could have stuck that under the binder clips as well. I'm gonna line that up, get it straight, and put a dot in the center of each space where I need to punch the hole. And remove that. Get my We Are Memory Keepers. This is an eyelet setter, but it does have a hole punch on it. And I know that this would not go in my handheld punch. So let's line these up so I can set this guide to keep me the same distance from the edge. All I have to do is worry about lining that dot up in the center and punching. And I can punch through all of them at the same time, which is great. The hole isn't as big as I would like, but let's pop these in. I think I'm gonna do them after my cover dashboard. Start here, and I will have to come back and start organizing everything. But for now, yeah, see, those holes are a little small. Let's move them, because in the front I have things that are wider than the typical insert. It's when we get back here where I get to my actual insert sizes. So let's see how they work back here. So I think I made my tabs a little too big. Yep, I did. So next time I should measure, huh? Okay, yeah, I made my tabs a little too thick on these three. So when we go back to do the other three, I'll make them a little more narrow, but I'm still going to use these. And they will all still end up being the same width. It's just the depth of the tab will be different. Okay, so that is it. I will show you the other tabs once I get those complete. So what I figured out is that to leave 1/4 of an inch, and I think that will be better. I think I was leaving a 1/2 inch on the first set. So if I do 1/4 inch, then the bulk of the divider will cover the insert. So that's what I have done. I've done the first two. Now let's do this last one. And I'm just going to mark it. Whoops. So let's mark it here and here, which I really don't need that end mark because I'm using this little mat here to determine how much to cut off. So I'm just going to cut to that dot, which is about 1/4 of an inch. Then I'm going to line the edge, the straight edge, up on the mat. So this is kind of how you line things up to cut as straight as you can. So I'm lining the straight edge to the straight edge on the mat. I'm also making sure that this side is lined up as well. Then I'm taking my ruler, make sure I cut off the right section, and I am lining it up at a 1/4 inch mark away from this left edge. So I'm lining it up with the mark on the ruler. Even though I made a mark with the marker, I'm still using my cutting mat and my ruler to line things up. So now I'm just going to start where I made that initial slit and come down. And you don't want to try and cut through the whole thing at one time. Not too much pressure. Remember what I said about putting the ruler on the side of what you're cutting, the side that you want to protect. So I'm protecting my divider in case I have a slip up. And I think that's it, yeah. All right, so then I'm going to round the corners. Now what I have found is I can use the corner chomper to round the corners of the tab in the first set that I did, but that's because the tab was a little too big. So I can't do it with this, but what I can do is use a corner that's already been rounded as a guide, like so. Line that up and then just use my scissors to round it as best as I can. And I'm not very good with that, but with a guide, it is helpful to have the guide. So let's try this one. How am I gonna do that? Let's do it this way. So pretty much everything here can be done with nothing fancy other than the laminator. It just takes a little patience. And if you don't want to round the corners, you could just take the scissors and snip off the pointed corner. Maybe I should have done that instead, just to show you. But this is so wrong. Ooh. I wish there was a way that I could get that in to the corner chomper, but I can't. Okay, let's get a little bit of alcohol, get these dots out of the way before we run it through the laminator again. So from here, I'm gonna do the same thing. I still see some black ink, but I'll deal with that later. Hopefully the laminator didn't embed it in. So it's the same thing. Take my 3 dividers. This is what they're looking like. Hopefully you can see that without too much glare. Use my binder clips to hold everything together. My template. Line it up. And make my dots in the center of each circle, and then use my hole puncher to punch the holes. Oh, this is another template. I got another template in there, so I'm gonna keep my template in the front pocket. Let's go to where the first 3 dividers were. Okay, so the tabs on these were too big, but they still work. And what I'll show you is when I put these 3 in, they still stick out the same distance. Let me show you. So they still are the same width. It's just the size of the tab that's different. So without knowing that, if you just look at the tabs as they hang out off the side here, which is kind of hard to see because I have all these other tabs there, but they are all equal in width. So let me show you a comparison of the 2 tabs together. So this is the 1/4 inch tab, and this is the almost 1/2 inch tab. So see, they're the same. It's just the body of the divider is different. Hope that makes sense. But I'm using them both. I have some clear sticker paper, so maybe I'll use that to make myself some labels. I also have a label maker, but I think I want a nice font on these, so I'll probably end up using the sticker paper to do it. We shall see. All right, that is it. I hope you found this video helpful. If you decide to make your own tab dividers, let me know in the comments how it works out for you. You may be interested in these other videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.